All right, welcome everybody. Scott Golden here with Golden Opportunities Coaching, and today we're going to talk about how to help people with eating disorders. If that's you, if you have an eating disorder, if you have a loved one that struggles with an eating disorder, or if you've always just wanted to learn more about what to say and what not to say to people with eating disorders, please listen on. If you're new here, please feel free to subscribe. Just click the button, click the bell notification to let us know, to let you know when we update. We try to do at least 2 to 3 audios a day around here. It's been a few days because of technical difficulties, but we're going to get back on a regular schedule. If there's an audio that you would like to hear, please feel free to comment below. And usually we can get that done within 24, 48 hours. In any event, please feel free to comment below if there's something we can help with. And so we are going to address kind of the eating disorder thing. So, and I'm really bizarre about the fact that I believe, disclaimer, I believe that psychological treatment takes all forms, some holistic, some traditional like psychotherapy, some useful like psychiatry where there's a need for diagnoses and medication. However, I do believe our society has become too dependent on diagnoses and not dependent enough on personal experience. In full disclosure, I have struggled with various eating disorders throughout my life, from being starved as a child by my parents to struggling with self-starvation. And while I never had anorexia or bulimia, certainly binge eating disorder is something I struggled with too when I had access to food. After not having access for an extended period of time, I'd eat everything in sight, right? And that's a learned behavior because when you don't know when you're going to eat, you eat as much as you can when you can eat because you're like, well, I mean, I get this chance again for a while. So in full disclosure of that, when I work with people that have eating disorders, not only do I understand on a psychological nature because I've studied it, but I've lived it. So I understand what it is to go through those issues. And so just let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 things to say or not say to someone with an eating disorder. This is an amalgamation of the folks I've worked with. And by the way, if you're listening out there and we are working through your eating challenges in a coaching session, I'm proud of you. Hopefully you have other people telling you that, but if you haven't heard that today, I'm proud of you because I know how hard that struggle is. And if you don't have somebody to help you through that, I'd be more than happy to do that if I can in any way. In any event, so one thing that's really kind of a big deal is the body shaming thing, right? Or the body comparison thing. If a person has an eating disorder, you can compliment them all day long. They're not going to hear you. You can tell them they're beautiful, wonderful. You can say this part of your body is attractive to me, and they're not going to hear you because they are only hearing through what they see or what they sense or what they know to be true, and their truth is distorted about their own body. So, it's good to, if you're going to frame a compliment to someone with an eating disorder, you might want to start with, hey, I know you might not see this, but here's how I feel. Here's what I see. And if you say that, you're acknowledging that the person has a struggle, but that what you're saying has value anyway. This is useful. One of the misnomers, and I struggled with this for years as someone who I've been as much as 100 pounds overweight to about 20 to 25 pounds underweight. I've run the whole gamut with eating disorders. And so body shaming is a big thing for those of us that have been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, right? And so qualify your compliments with things that are, hey, this is what I see. You don't have to believe me. I would like you to believe me, but this is what I see. And it makes it okay for a person to struggle while still taking into account what you're saying. I know especially, and if this person's listening, all is forgiven, there's no worry. But I can say I had a person that I was dating on and off for a while, and she made a comment during one of our off periods that I was everything she wanted in a guy, I just wasn't attractive enough. And that one comment sent me into a year plus eating disorder relapse. One comment, one sentence, one bit of words sent me backwards for a year. What I mean to say with that is you don't know when the comment you make might be affecting someone. And that goes for bullying, that goes for eating disorders, that goes for depression, all sorts of emotional instability issues, panic disorders, anxiety. So choose your words carefully, especially if one of two things are true. You know someone really well and you know what their triggers might be. Don't hit them even if you're ticked off. Or you've never met a person so you don't know what their triggers might be. Choose innocuous language or neutral language so as not to hurt somebody. It's not that hard to be considerate in this day and age, but sometimes people don't think the way they would benefit from doing. Now, another thing I see with people that have eating disorders is those who are well-meaning, who say you need to eat more. Come on, eat. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And you try to force a person into eating. Or you go the other way and you shame them and you go, are you sure you really want to eat that? I mean, you haven't been eating a lot and you might not be able to handle it. Look, a person with an eating disorder is going to have up days, down days, left days, right days, up here, down there, over here, left, right, up, down, rinse, repeat, backflip, maybe, right? They're going to have all sorts of emotions and all sorts of behaviors. Now, you might see that some of those behaviors are unhealthy. You might see that some of those behaviors are a bit wooky and a bit off course. How you address how a person's behaving is super important. You know, you might, if you're dealing with a person who undereats a lot, you might say, I know you really like chicken wings. What if we went and got some chicken wings, just so I know you ate today because that matters to me? What do you think? Or, hey, I know that you really like ice cream, and I noticed you haven't eaten really well in a couple of days. What if we went and splurged on some ice cream? You'd make me feel better because then I'd have a reason to splurge. Sometimes using the fact that they're helping you by taking care of themselves is a great way to coax a person into making healthier choices. Similarly, though, if they're overeating, rather than saying, no, you really shouldn't eat that, gee, you're binging again, you might say, hey, what are you thinking right now? Because I noticed, you're eating a ton. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. And if you don't want to talk about it, that's okay. But if you want to talk about it, I'm here. Or if there's absolutely nothing going on and I'm way off base, then just tell me to shut up and go headbutt a brick wall. In other words, always interject humor into when you're trying to give course correction. The reason is, if a person's not comfortable, at least you can bring them back into your life by giving them reason to laugh. But if you're comfortable enough to use humor talking about something that's super serious to them in a light way, it's like, hey, they're not trying to be a pain in the tail. They really do care about me. Maybe I should open up just 0.25%. Maybe I should open up just halfway. And then you've opened that dialogue. So language is super important. Here's another thing. Unless you've had an eating disorder, you don't understand what it's like. So please don't say that you do. Please don't say that you do, because it's insulting to the person going through the disorder. It's insulting to a person who's ever lost that battle, and there are people who die from eating disorders every day. It's also insulting to a person who's trying to figure out their eating disorder, because if you say, I understand, and then they're like, really? You understand? So what do you do instead of what I'm doing? And then you're left holding the bag, right? Like, you're like, I don't know. See, so you've just opened your mouth and inserted your leg up to the kneecap because you thought you understood something you don't understand. Again, and I've said this in videos before, a better phrase in any emotional disorder situation is, I'd like to understand. Help me understand. Teach me how to understand. Inviting the person to talk and give their experience, which, by the way, is unique to them. It doesn't fit in a book. It doesn't fit in a DSM-R. It doesn't fit in a psychology textbook. It's unique because each person is unique and the way they experience symptoms is unique. Yes, there are common ground points if we really whittle it down, but the more unique you treat a person, the more special and one of a kind you treat a situation, the more progress you're going to make with a person who's struggling emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, or whatever the case may be. Another thing, please don't talk about your diet or how much weight you're losing or how much weight you're gaining or what's going on with your weight in front of a person that has an eating disorder, because it's because it's only going to trigger them to be conscious of what's going on with them. If they're under eating and you're talking about dieting, they're going to think they haven't done enough. If you're overeating and you're gaining weight, they're going to think, hey, this, what about me? Am I gaining weight? Am I doing this? Look, I'm not saying you can't talk to and talk about and celebrate your weight loss goals or the things you've achieved. Certainly go celebrate them, but celebrate them with someone that doesn't have an eating challenge, because trying to celebrate them with someone that does, unless the person's in complete recovery, and complete recovery is they're consciously aware that this is going to be a lifelong battle for them, and they check in with themselves weekly, at least daily preferably, and they know how to handle different emotional triggers, and they're there. But usually that takes at least 18 to 24 months for a person with a diagnosed eating disorder to get to. So don't do it with somebody who's brand new. Please don't do that, because you're doing more harm than good. The last one, and I hear this all the time. Well, you don't look like you have an eating disorder. I don't see you having a problem. I've never seen you do. Look, much like any addictive behavior, eating disorders are done compulsively, and most of the time, unless a person's lost all care, all give a dams are broken, they're done in secret, in silence, in solitude, away from people, because there is a level of shame that come along with them. So it's okay to say, I never would have guessed. I had no idea. Or I had an idea, but I didn't want to say anything. Or, what's that like for you? That surprises me. These are appropriate things to say. You don't look like you have. You don't act like you have. You don't. This isn't real. You don't have a problem. Or the other one I hear from parents all the time. This is huge. If you have a child or an adolescent who is struggling with, or you think might be struggling with, an eating disorder, and or you think they are, and this includes obesity, because that can be an eating disorder related thing too, believe it or not. Do not body shame them and tell them you're going to end up needing liposuction, you're going to end up fat, you're going to this, you're going to that. Do not speak curses over your kids' lives. Please, if you feel the need to do this because you're worried about your kid and you don't know how to say it constructively, please go outside, find a piece of concrete, and headbutt it as hard as you can until you get some sense in your brain. Telling your child or your teenager that there's something wrong with them and they are broken and they're just going to mess up their life further is the easiest way to guarantee that you've spoken into life a self-fulfilling prophecy. Instead, say, "Hey, I'm worried about you." And at the same time, don't be like, "Oh, well, you got to do this. We got to get you to a doctor. We got to do this." Look, medical help is helpful, and it's quite often warranted with eating disorders. Many times, a person with an eating disorder can't beat it on their own. But the first thing you do is, "Hey, I'm with you. I'm in your corner. Let's try to beat this. If we can't, well, then we'll go get help." Right? Make sure that the person you're dealing with, be they a child, be they a teenager, be they 20-something, 30-something, whatever they are, wherever they are, feels supported every day, consistently. And if you can't support a person consistently, which to me consistency means at least a couple times a week, if not daily, then don't talk about that issue with them. Because the worst thing you can do for a person with any addictive behavior is say, "I'll be there," and then not show up. People failing an addict, and an eating disorder is on the addiction spectrum. People failing an addict is the number one chief cause of relapse. And if anybody tells you anything different, question them, because the reality is that feeling of I'm not worthy enough for a person to follow through, instantly for most addicts, boom, I can just go and do what I want. Boom, it's done. It's over. And so be very careful. If what you can commit to is, I'll check on you once a week. I'll send you an email every Thursday. I'll go shopping with you every 2 weeks and we'll pick out healthy foods. If that's what you can commit to, commit to that. Lovely. Because hopefully this person has multiple people in their life, and different people can give different levels of commitment to a person's recovery, because it does take a team. But if you commit to, I'll call you every day, and you do it for a week and then you disappear, man, you're just like inviting that person to relapse. And yes, I know that a person should be autonomous enough to handle it on their own when you fail them, but the reality is an active addict is not autonomous. A recovering addict is autonomous. So if a person's in the middle of their addictive behavior, they're going to behave differently than a person who's further down the road to their recovery. And I think this is the biggest thing that people who've never had addiction, and I've had addictions, everything from substances to negative thinking that I've beaten, to anxiety related addictions that I've beaten, to the food we're talking about here. I've been through all that stuff. And the one thing I would say in recovery is love a person where you are. Don't overextend yourself. Don't make promises you can't keep. And ultimately, just follow through on what you say you're going to do. That's going to do more for the addicted person in your life, whether they're your partner, they're your child, they're your friend, they're your family member. That's going to do more for them if you do those things than spending $100,000 on rehab. I'll tell you right now, consistency means more than all the money you throw at it. And that is super, super important. So I'll close for today with that thought. If I can be of help to you in your recovery process, no matter what you're struggling with, please feel free to reach out. We are doing the reconnection special, $50 for a first session, bulk pricing also available. Please feel free to reach out on Twitter at PO Perception, P as in Paul, O as in Oreo, Perception, on Twitter, or send a message directly through here. We'll set up an appointment. We'll have a conversation. Hopefully we'll get you some help that you need. In any event, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.